From fantasy to nightmare. That's what the story was for the Virginia Tech Hokies in their 45-24 truly disappointing loss to Tennessee at Bristol Motor Speedway in the Battle of Bristol. A game that had been discussed for years and years, been hyped up, and obviously the most well-attended football game ever, with over 150,000 people in attendance. And the fireworks were there offensively for the Hokies early on. On the second offensive drive, Sam Rogers caught that touchdown pass from Gerard Evans. And then really the highlight of the night for the Hokies really was Trayvon McMillan's fantastic, incredible 69-yard touchdown run, just blazing speed. Really thought he was going to get taken down towards the end. But a terrific run from him. But, the story of this game really, it comes down to, mistakes and lack of discipline. Virginia Tech outgained Tennessee 400-330. So how does a team outgain their opponent by 70 yards and suffer a humiliating blowout loss? Well, I'll tell you. It is through turnovers and penalties. For the first time since Virginia Tech began tracking lost fumbles in 1987, the Hokies lost 5 fumbles, 9 fumbles lost so far on the season. So Virginia Tech making history early on this season for all of the wrong reasons. Losing 5 fumbles is just, it's mind-boggling. It's unacceptable, and it obviously needs to change. Now, on top of that, penalties were a huge problem as well. The Hokies had over 100 yards of penalties, including 5 penalties that were of the 15-yard variety. So really, discipline, a major issue for this Hokie team. When you have a new head coach like Virginia Tech does, with Justin Fuente, you're going to run into, growing pains. But in my opinion, they should not be at this level. And part of it may be coming down to, in terms of this game specifically, nerves. Virginia Tech is a team that has struggled on the big stage quite a bit in recent memory. Be it, against Alabama, Ohio State second half last season, Boise State, Stanford in the Orange Bowl. All those games come to mind. So Virginia Tech has a ways to go to be ready to perform big on the big stage. But, the weapons are there. The offense was not quite where you would want it to be, to put it nicely. You didn't really get those big performances out of Isaiah Ford and Bucky Hodges that we saw last week in the season opener. But, the Hokies come out. They get a 14-point lead early on. Things are looking great, in control of the game. But Tennessee just exploded in the second quarter. And give the Vols credit. Joshua Dobbs played a terrific game. 5 touchdowns, 3 passing. But, when you throw for 3 touchdowns and don't even top 100 yards, that says, well, you had some pretty short fields to play with. And that he did, So Dobbs had a very good game, both running and throwing the ball. And our run defense was a major problem. That's going to certainly be addressed moving forward, because the lunch pail defense was nowhere to be found at Bristol Motor Speedway. Maybe the lunch pail got left in one of those race cars hanging around the track. But, like I said, not where you want them to be there. In terms of the defense, though, on the positive side, I was very impressed with the performance of Ken Eckenham. He got another sack. He is continuing to show that he has an NFL future ahead of him. And, even when the Hokies were down, 34-17, something like that, they gave up 31 or 34 unanswered points, and you're not going to win when that happens. But, even when they were, down a couple of scores, in the second half, you thought, well, even though there is no momentum from the Hokies, things could turn around, things could change. But there were just a series of plays that, really held the Hokies back. First, when Joshua Dobbs, almost so close to getting sacked by Trayvon Hill on a 3rd and 14. Instead, he throws a touchdown pass to Camara. And then, on a great drive when Virginia Tech has to respond, get back into the game, and really make things close, Cam Phillips loses a fumble. Again, Cam Phillips drop issues last season. Now it seems like ball security issues are the problem this time around. Tremendous talent. I don't think he should be benched. Maybe if you don't start him, have him start on the bench. That might get the point across next week. But, it's not just his problem. It is a team problem. And, after that, the getting the stop after such a bad turnover was nice, but we didn't even get the ball back. The Hokies didn't get the ball back because the punt return was muffed. It bounced off a player, and Stroman tried to field it. Then it got recovered by Tennessee. So really, they were just kind of like at that point, once they recovered that muffed punt, you can kind of tell things were just destined to go Tennessee's way last night. So, it's there are a lot of things we need to be improved upon. I mentioned last week that Gerard Evans held on to the ball for too long. I don't think it was that much of an issue last night. There were times where he did hold on, a few snaps here and there, but really, I think one of the things that Fuentine needs to work on with him is set up some sort of a clock in his head where, like, after a certain point, boom, boom, got to get rid of the ball. Although, to be fair, the offensive line did not do much of a job when it came time to protecting Evans and helping him get the ball out. That was a huge problem right there. So, many things that need to be addressed moving forward for the Hokies. You could call it a wake-up call, a reality check, whatever you want to. But, the backfield, the receivers, the skill position players are there. Things certainly need to be improved in the trenches. Statistically last night, not a terrible game for the receiving corps. Cam Phillips led the way with 7 catches for 77 yards. Isaiah Ford had 5 catches for 51 yards, and Bucky Hodges only had 3 catches for 13 yards. So moving forward, we certainly want to see, more from Bucky in particular. He had a quiet game. Mook Reynolds had a nice interception in the first half. That was pleasant to see. But overall, major disappointment last night. I really was feeling great, as I'm sure every Virginia Tech fan was, going up 14-0. But from then on, it was just a disaster. But like I mentioned before, plenty to improve upon. The Hokies head into next week with a 1-1 record into the ACC opener, going up against Boston College. The Eagles will be playing at Lane Stadium, and Scott Loeffler will be leading the Boston College offense. So it'll be a return for him. I think the Hokies should be considered favorites heading into that game, this debacle aside. But, we look forward to seeing what happens. And for those who have passed and for those who have come, reach for excellence.